Single dad sees his late wife's photo in the CEO's office. He freezes. Marcus Webb had survived things that would have broken most men. He had held his wife's hand as the machines went quiet, had whispered her name into a hospital room that gave nothing back, had driven home alone and stood in a kitchen that still smelled like her perfume. He had raised their 5-year-old daughter, Lily, through the grief of a loss the little girl was too young to fully understand, but old enough to feel in her bones every single morning when she reached for a mother who wasn't there. He had done all of this without collapsing, without surrendering, without letting Lily see him fall apart, because she needed him standing. But nothing, not a single storm he had weathered in the 4 years since Elena's death, could have prepared him for the moment he walked into the 42nd floor of Meridian Tech Solutions as a maintenance contractor and saw his late wife's face staring back at him from a massive framed photograph on the CEO's office wall. His toolbox hit the marble floor before he even realized he had dropped it. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that find broken people when they need them most, please like this video, drop a comment below, share it with someone who needs to hear a story like this today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Stories like Marcus's deserve to be heard by every heart that still believes in hope. Marcus had taken the maintenance job 6 months ago out of pure desperation. After Elena died, he had tried to keep his landscaping business running, but grief had stolen his focus. His clients had drifted away, and the medical bills had stacked themselves against him like a wall he couldn't see over. His sister watched Lily during the day while Marcus drove across the city fixing HVAC systems, unclogging drains, and replacing broken ceiling panels in office buildings that gleamed with the kind of success he had once dreamed of building for his own family. He didn't complain. He simply worked, came home, made grilled cheese sandwiches, listened to Lily's stories about kindergarten, and fell asleep in a recliner that still held the shape of a man waiting for something he couldn't name. The Meridian Tech contract was supposed to be routine, a broken ventilation unit in the executive suite on the 42nd floor. Marcus had arrived early, badge clipped to his chest, cap pulled low, rolling his cart through the glass corridors of a world that felt nothing like his own. The receptionist had waved him through without looking up. The office was empty, the CEO apparently in a board meeting downstairs. Marcus had let himself in, set his tools down, and turned toward the wall to orient himself, and the world had simply stopped. The photograph was enormous, printed in soft black and white, and mounted in a brushed silver frame above a credenza lined with industry awards. It showed a woman standing at the edge of what looked like a rooftop garden, her dark hair catching the wind, her expression caught somewhere between laughter and deep thought. The photographer had captured something rare, a moment where a person looked entirely, completely themselves. Marcus knew that expression. He had fallen in love with that expression across a coffee shop table 11 years ago. He had seen it on their wedding day. He had seen it in the quiet morning light of their bedroom when she thought no one was watching. It was Elena. His Elena. There was absolutely no question in his mind. His knees wanted to give out, but he locked them through sheer will, pressing one hand against the cold wall and breathing in shallow, desperate pulls of air. His mind raced through every logical explanation. A coincidence, an impossible one, a woman who resembled her. But no, the resemblance was not approximate. It was exact, down to the small scar above her left eyebrow from a bicycle accident when she was 12, a detail she had laughed about on their first date. His hand trembled as he reached into his pocket for his phone and pulled up the only photo he carried digitally, Lily's favorite, the one from the beach 2 months before Elena got sick, Elena laughing with her arms spread wide against the ocean. Same woman, same scar, same soul in the eyes. He was still standing there completely frozen when the door opened behind him. The woman who walked in was not Elena. She was younger than Elena had been, polished and composed in a charcoal blazer, with the efficient stride of someone who owned every room she entered. She stopped when she saw Marcus standing pale and motionless in front of the photograph, and her expression shifted from mild surprise to something more careful and watchful. She introduced herself as Diana Reyes, CEO of Meridian Tech. She asked with quiet directness whether he was all right. Marcus, who prided himself on being a man of composure, told her the truth because in that moment he had no ability to be anything else. He told her that the woman in the photograph was his wife, that she had passed away 4 years ago, that he had a daughter who had grown up without her mother, and that seeing that face on this wall had knocked every carefully constructed wall inside him completely flat. Diana Reyes sat down, and then she told him something that rearranged the entire architecture of his understanding. The woman in the photograph was her mother, her biological mother, who had given her up for adoption at birth, a young woman in crisis who had made the most painful and loving decision she could manage at 19 years old. Diana had spent years searching, had finally obtained a photograph through a private agency, had enlarged it and framed it not as a shrine, but as a reminder that she came from someone, that she was not simply a woman who had built herself from nothing. Her mother's name, according to the adoption records, had been Elena Vasquez before she married and became Elena Webb. The silence that followed was not empty. It was full of everything two people could feel at once: grief and wonder, and the vertiginous sensation of the universe folding something back into itself that had been torn apart. Marcus pulled out his phone again with shaking hands and showed Diana the beach photograph. Diana pressed her fingers to her lips. Her eyes filled in the way that eyes do when the body simply cannot contain what the heart is processing. In that photograph, she saw her own cheekbones, her own hands, the particular way her own shoulders carried tension even in joy. She saw the inheritance of herself, the biological map of a woman she had never met but had spent a lifetime grieving in an abstract, aching way that she had never had words for. And Marcus understood, with a clarity that settled into him like light through water, that Elena had not disappeared entirely from this world. She had left behind 2 daughters, one she had raised and cherished, and one she had loved so fiercely that she had released her into a better life before that life had even begun. Lily had a sister. Diana had a family. And Marcus, who had walked into that office expecting nothing more than a broken ventilation unit, had walked into the answer to a question he hadn't known he was still carrying. If this story moved something inside you, if it reminded you that life is stranger and more merciful than we give it credit for, please share this video with someone you love. Leave a comment below telling us what part of Marcus's story stayed with you. Every like, every share, every subscription to Kindness Corner helps us keep these stories alive for hearts that need them. Before this story ends, we want to ask you something personal. Drop a comment below with just the word family if you believe that the people we are meant to find will always, somehow, find their way back to us. Marcus drove home that evening through streets that looked the same but felt entirely different. He walked through his front door, crouched down, and held Lily for a long time without saying a word. She patted his back the way children do when they sense something large and adult happening inside a parent's chest. He told her, gently, carefully, in words a 6-year-old could hold, that there was someone new who wanted very much to know her, someone who had her mama's hands. Elena's eyes, and asked if that meant they were going to be okay. Marcus Webb, for the first time in 4 years, answered yes and completely meant it.